You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting from North Idaho in an actual free state. I happen to be your conservative Sherpa, who occasionally it's heard looks like this or this. Anyway, I am guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. That's why I'm here. Please note what you're about to hear for this show, whether it be 1 hour, 2 hours. Like normal, it ends when it ends. Maybe I've got enough for 2 hours. Maybe I don't. Probably I've got more material than for 1 hour. But that's just between me and you. So what am I doing? I am doing the job that the American media maggots won't. I am fundamentally changing America, one leftist red diaper doper baby at a time. I don't want to tell you this. We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks here in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, clarity. I like the new one, clarity, tradition, and common sense for normal people, which is why you're here with me tonight. Politics, religion, crime, culture, race, sex, economics, science, law. We talk about it all right here in the saloon where the speech is free, but the booze is not. I am streaming live on, let's see if I have this, all of these various places right here. Spreaker, YouTube, the SHR Media YouTube channel. Streaming live on Rumble, on X, my X Twitter, at BZ's Saloon, at BZ's Saloon. And also on Twitch, Facebook Live, and KLRN Radio. And with regard to KLRN Radio, I want to say hello and thanks to KLRN's Rick Robinson, who's getting better. He had a little bit of the flu going. There's a lot of the flu going on. Jersey Joe has been down for a while. Sean of Edge of Liberty is having equipment problems, but who doesn't these days? And we have a bunch of people that happen to be in the chat room already. It looks like Lost Wanderer is here. Jeremy Hansen is here. Mission Ready Men are here. All 17 of them being mission ready themselves. And of course, Rick Robinson from Klern Radio, Klern. And he's right. He says they have pills for that. That's true. Who invented Rick here? Who invited Rick here? And Lost Wanderer, if things go well, as I hope they do, Lost Wanderer may be wandering over to maybe a little bit of my show to try to find out who is this guy and how and why does he show up in chat? This is so weird. Last Tuesday, I had a viscous troll, vicious, like vicious fishes. And he was just, he was pummeling me over in Rumble. Pummel. And, the funny thing was, I decided I'm not going to respond. And after throwing out zingers, he, it, she, them, zer, zim, decided that they were going to go away. I found that rather amusing. Hey, I want to remind everybody of this before I'm going to do this early. Well, first, tonight is a compilation of, I'm going back in time a little bit to USAID and then updating it because there's some new stuff that just came out recently. I heard from somebody that I thought was super intelligent. And as a matter of fact, I've stolen a lot of stuff from him for the show. And then he went someplace in an interview with Tucker Carlson that I hadn't anticipated. And I thought, you know what? Screw it. I can't not comment on that. So there will be a commentary tonight after this. You guys saw this, I'm sure. And this was rather amazing. Now, this is one view. I saw another view from a different angle, and it looked on that view that this plane, the Delta flight that struck and turned upside down in Toronto, it looked like it really struck the runway pretty hard. So I'm asking you, take a peek at this and see if it looks like, you can't really tell from this angle, but I want to play it because, I'm kind of going somewhere tonight. I'm always going somewhere tonight.
1, 2, 3,
And then the pilots say,
oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Oh, that's...
oh, yes.
Tower, you're seeing this airplane just crash into 3.
So I find that amusing insofar as all the Democrats decided that, well, it must be Trump's FAA cuts that made that airplane crash. Comma, you morons. This was Canada. You guys don't know where Canada is. And then, oddly enough, Gayle King, the reason I started with Delta is because Gayle King had the Delta Airlines CEO on her show. This guy's name is Ed Bastian. And so she thought she had him caught in a conundrum. And we're going to find out it's Trump.
The Trump administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration.
Right.
Do those cuts worry you? And do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
Wait.
The cuts do not affect us, Gail. I've been in close communication with the Secretary of Transportation. I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions. The Trump administration had cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were cuts, I understand, were 300 people,
Where
and
were
they were
they?
in non-critical safety functions. The Trump administration.
Oh, non-critical safety functions. So I did this Tuesday. I got to do it again. So I take my arrow out of my quiver, and Gayle King, right back at you, babe. And then this one, this is great. If you haven't seen it, go to Doge Live Tracker. And you probably can't see it because it's really teeny and winky way up here. But you'll find it on the internet at Doge, D-O-G-E, tracker.com. Dogetracker.com. And it's billed as the Doge Live Tracker. So if you want to see how your tax dollars are being saved, hey, go right there. It's kind of fun. I am not going to do Chicago stuff tonight because I have got just absolutely so much material to cover, if for no other reason that it's my material and it's my response, and I want to make sure that I cover it. Let's start here. This is Doge and how Doge be like. Come on. Go.
you do here?
Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the goddamn customers so the engineers don't have to.
He said, "What do you do here?"
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
Hmm?
Yeah, I mean,
Treasury, you're next, baby. And then, of course, if you are talking about efficiency, well, here's a guy that is the epitome of efficiency.
As part of the ongoing effort by the federal government to reduce spending and streamline operations, all 3 million federal employees are being replaced by one 16-year-old Chick-fil-A employee named Devin. Devin will be responsible for everything the 3 million federal employees used to accomplish as part of their day-to-day jobs, from delivering mail to all 340 million Americans to cleaning the toilets at Yellowstone National Park, and even advising the president as the new Secretary of State.
Devin, are you excited for your new job?
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a really good way to earn a little extra money for college. It's a real blessing. Praise the Lord.
And you're still working here at Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, just putting in some extra hours after running my 9 to 5. You know, just pretty much running the entire federal government.
Economists claim the move will save the federal government approximately $300 billion in payroll each year, less Devin's wages of $17 an hour. But savings aren't the only benefit, experts say. As a Chick-fil-A worker, Devin is said to be extremely efficient at his job and annoyingly friendly, a stark contrast to what most people think of when they have to interact with a federal employee.
Yeah, I'll get your tax return processed right away, Mrs. Heffenberg. Sorry for the delay. No, we're not short-staffed at all. Yes, it's my pleasure. Hey, sorry about this. I just got to do a quick manual check. Can you put your arms out for me? Hey, have a great day.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so I'm just finishing up solving this murder. It was the wife, obviously. Then I'm off to inspect some suspicious eggs at the Department of Agriculture. Then I'm going to answer about 47 million emails for the VA. Thank you for your service, vets. It's my pleasure.
And that's Devin. That's why we need Devin. And I said in the promo for tonight, I said the EU is failing, and then USAID is ruled by the CIA. I saw this next video, and for those of you who are on, it's in Greek. This is literally in Greek. And this, what is her name? Aphrodite Latinopoulou. I think I probably screwed that up terribly. She's in the EU, and she's telling them that in terms of what the EU is now and what it represents, we, meaning the younger folks who are conservative, we are the future. You are not. So for those of you who are listening and not just watching right now, I will try to keep up with her as we play this video, because this is great. This is the future. This better be the future. She says it is. I believe her.
Σοβαρά, κυρίες και κύριοι. Η δεξιά κατέστρεψε τη βιομηχανία. Η δεξιά έκανε είδωλο την Γκρέτα Τουνμπεργκ.
Was it the right that imposed the green energy at the expense of industry, destroying the EU's competitiveness? Or was it the socialist governments that have been ruling the European Union for 50 years? France, Italy, Germany, Spain, and my homeland, Greece, have been devastated by groundless socialist policies. And today you, the destroyers of Europe, have the audacity to wag your finger at us, claiming that we conservatives are a threat to Europe. I laugh. I truly laugh. As Margaret Thatcher wisely said, the problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. So abandon these ghost stories about supposed far-right threats and implement liberal economic policies. Lower taxes, increase competitiveness, bring back plastic straws, leave lignite alone, invest in the industry, and above all, face reality. You have failed. Follow what we're telling you before it's too late for everyone. We are the future and you are the past. And she nails it, folks. It's like bada bing, bada boom, left, right, uppercut. And the EU has failed. And the thing that I find absolutely delicious, that's wonderful, is what has occurred in the US with Trump 47. Such a massive difference between 45 and 47. Added with a big dollop of humility and mortality, the sense of mortality from last June of 2024, Trump 47 is an entirely new guy, and he has no time to waste. No one has ever seen anyone in my lengthy period of time on the planet. Nobody has seen what Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. Nobody has seen what he has done in 20 days. By the way, funny you should mention that, BZ. It's 20 days today. Excuse me. 1 month today. January 20th, February 20th. The second month in February. The second month of this year. The 20th day. The year of our Lord, 2025. 1 month. And he has gotten all of this done. It's absolutely wonderful. Now, I'm going to put this up, and as we know, it's a late night show. Sometimes the poo-poo nasties come out of me. I'm going to put this up on the screen because here's a guy, and again, this is the EU. Here is a guy, a German leader who's crying at the Munich Security Conference about the bad words that DJT said about him. And in reviewing this, I said something similar to, fuck these Euro pussies. We're done with your freedom-killing ways. And that's exactly what DJT said to them in a much kinder fashion. We're done with you repressing your citizens, pissing away our hard-earned American taxpayer dollars, and then literally crying. There are tears now. I didn't see snot, so I'm not 100% convinced. But you're crying about an expectation to help fund and protect yourselves. What the hell? Oh, there we go.
After the speech of Vice President Vance on Friday, we have to fear that our common value base is not that common anymore.
Thank God.
I'm very grateful to all those European politicians that spoke out and reaffirmed the values and principles that they are defending. No one did this better than President Zelensky.
Do you see how this all is wrapped together? Every one of these fuckers are corruptors. The only people of remote respect are, I can't think of the guy in Hungary, Orban? I may have gotten my name wrong. And Poland. Poland, I had a couple of contacts with Polish people and Polish cops. When I was at EVOC, a sergeant there, I had a couple of Polish cops come over. And at the time, these poor bastards were driving like zills, Russian zills. They were terrible. So I put them out on the pursuit course. When I was driving, I couldn't let them drive for liability reasons. And they all laughed their asses off like little schoolgirls on our pursuit course. Poland loves the United States of America. And the EU, these guys, that bastard, are getting their asses handed to her. Which is why Aphrodite said what she said. And that's why I'm leading with that tonight.
Let me conclude, and this becomes difficult.
Oh, please. Okay, give me a fucking break. I'm taking you off the screen. If you can't even get through a script because you're going to have to pay for your own shit, how do you possibly think that anyone at all is going to respect you? I go back to this video. This video is one of the favorite happy times for me. This inserts me into my happy place when I regale people with this video. This is Trump speaking in Germany, essentially saying that Germany is controlled by Russia. He's at a NATO meeting and he takes basically a 5-pound herring and slaps it in the face of all one of these Euro twats here at this table. It's great.
But Germany is totally controlled by Russia.
Bingo.
Because they were getting from 60 to 70% of their energy from Russia and a new pipeline. And you tell me if that's appropriate, because I think it's not. And I think it's a very bad thing for NATO, and I don't think it should have happened. And I think we have to talk to Germany about it. On top of that, Germany is just paying a little bit over 1%, whereas the United States in actual numbers.
Look at the guy directly across from him. Have you ever seen such a head up, tilted, arrogant bastard in quite some time? He's reading them the riot act and telling them the truth. That is to say, it's time to pull your diapers up like big people. And oh, you don't talk to me in this fashion. By the way, over in the far corner, let's see, that would be to Trump's left, is Mike Pompeo prior to weight loss.
Is paying 4.2% of a much larger GDP. So I think that's inappropriate also. You know,
in other words, you're not paying your freight, NATO.
We're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting everybody. And yet we're paying a lot of money to protect. Now, this has been going on for decades. This has been brought up by other presidents, but other presidents never did anything about it because I don't think they understood it or they just didn't want to get involved. But I have to bring it up because I think it's very unfair to our country. It's very unfair to our taxpayers. And I think that these countries have to step it up, not over a 10-year period. They have to step it up immediately.
Oh, hell
Germany
yeah.
is a rich country. They talk about they're going to increase it a tiny bit by 2030. Well, they could increase it immediately tomorrow and have no problem. I don't think it's fair to the United States. So we're going to have to do something because we're not going to put up with it. We can't.
Nobody's talked to them ever, as in looking directly at this guy over here, the Mr. Elitist. Nobody's ever spoken to him and told him directly to his face, you're going to have to cough up cash, Buccarino, and do it now.
Can't put up with it, and it's inappropriate. So we have to talk. Now, if you look at it, Germany is a captive of Russia because they supply. They got rid of their coal plants. They got rid of their
Gazprom.
nuclear. They're getting so much of the oil and gas from Russia. I think it's something that NATO has to look at. I think it's very inappropriate. You and I agree that it's inappropriate. I don't know what you can do about it now, but it certainly doesn't seem to make sense that they pay billions of dollars to Russia, and now we have to defend them against Russia.
You know, NATO is an alliance of 29 nations, and there are sometimes differences and different views and also some disagreements. And the gas pipeline from Russia to Germany is one issue where allies disagree. But the strength of NATO is that despite these differences, we have always been able to unite around our core task to protect and defend each other because we understand that we are stronger together than apart. I think that 2 world wars under.
Okay, I got to stop right here. I'm sorry. Did you see Pompeo kind of look off into the distance thinking that, okay, I'm here, I'm listening to this, but even I'm getting a little bit embarrassed, and he's shoving the pike through the heart at everybody at this table. He's enjoying it. This is a wonderful thing. Pompeo was digging it.
The Cold War thought was that we are stronger together than apart.
But how can you be together when a country is getting its energy from the person you want protection against or from the group that you want protection?
Because you understand that when we stand together, also when dealing with Russia, we are stronger. I think what we have seen is that.
No, you're just making.
See, Cheetah's exactly right. He says, hell yeah. Trump sees this clearly. Russia has held the EU over a barrel as energy hostages. Absolutely damn correct. Where's my bell? Thanks, Cheetah. And thanks to everybody in chat. Mission Ready Men, Lost Wanderer, Jeremy Hansen, Cheetah, Ricky Robinson, Squatch Zone. Thanks to everybody for being here tonight. Let's continue.
Russia richer. Well, not dealing with Russia, you're making Russia richer.
I think that even during the Cold
You're
War,
making
Vietnam
Russia
was
richer.
trading with Russia, then there have been disagreements about what kind of trade arrangements we should go
I think
to.
trade is wonderful. I think energy is a whole different story. I think energy is a much different story than normal trade. And you have a country like Poland that won't accept the gas.
Like Poland that won't accept the gas. Like chat says in here, the Polish people are great people. I've met a bunch of them. I used to, when I was doing this kind of thing and I had my house back in Sacramento, I would invite, I can't think of the organization, but it's basically we send your cops to us, you send your cops over here. I never went to the EU, but I sponsored a bunch of Polish cops, and I sponsored a bunch of German cops because I happen to speak German. I didn't speak Polish. Thank God these guys spoke English. But all of these folks were a ton of fun, especially the Polish dudes. Loved the hell out of America. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. And then what's America? Well, all of these guys are all about censorship. So don't think that it doesn't happen here. Ayanna Pressley saying what used to be the quiet part out loud. And now the thought is just, fuck it. We're saying the quiet part out loud for now until forever.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say.
I like the word, though, umbrage. I use that quite a bit. Good volatility.
We are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people.
Stop right there. That's all you need to know about these shit sticks. Censoring the American people. That's why the Democrats hate 47 and the EU hates 47, because you can't take some words. You can't take words. If you can't take language, how can we possibly begin to communicate with others? Especially when you guys in Europe are having this kind of crap going on. And nobody's talking about it. Did you hear about this? Panic in Sweden. Sweden, as 31 bombings, 31 rock the country with one city. This is a quote from the Express in the UK. I frequently go to the UK. Well, shoot, I used to have a subscription to The Economist. I go to the Daily Mail. Frequently, you'll discover that UK journalism, as far as that goes, is a lot more in-depth and more readily available than things on the American media maggot side. For example, in Daily Mail, although it, oh, God. Okay, I'm going to get this over with right now because I got to take a break in just a moment or so. I hate going to the Daily Mail because the Daily Mail is absolutely festooned with ads. Oh my God. It's almost as bad as, how many times have you guys gone to allegedly a conservative site? And maybe you saw on social media and you saw an article that looks interesting because the headline looks interesting. And then you go there and it's nothing but a bunch of toe fungus ads and paywalls and all that crap that makes you absolutely sick. Well, I'm BZ. You're in the saloon. I'll be right back after this and we will continue, and then we'll change the topic and the pitch of the propeller. It is, hey, it's exactly 8:30 Pacific, 10:30 Central, and oh my gosh, 11:30 Eastern already, and it's 1749.723, paragraph 4, box 5, subgrowth cluster 2 in Bolivia. But I could never understand Bolivian time. Can anybody? I don't think I can.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night Conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? Coming in November to SHR Media. By way of Big E Jackson, you need to check out Mission Ready Men. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man, as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson, coming this November on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Okay, stop right there. It's not in the ad, but I want to make sure that you know about Big E's show. Now, the days and the times aren't there, but Mission Ready Men with Big E Earl Jackson is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the days that I'm on, except he's earlier. He's on at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. So that's Mission Ready Men, just like this right here. Earl Jackson, he's on Tuesday and Thursday in the morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 Central, and noon on Eastern. So with that, let's continue.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. I'm back. Thanks for being here tonight. Got a lot of people in the chat room. If you want to be in the chat room, as well. You can. Con su permissione. I think that's Italian. I'm not exactly sure. If it's Italian, it's bad Italian. Anyway, thanks for being here. The first half hour is done, gone in the can. And by the way, maybe you did exactly that during the break. Maybe you hit the can. With luck, you grabbed an adult beverage and came back. Before I was so rudely interrupted by myself, I was talking about this. Europe has its own problems. 31 bombings occurred just in January. And they say the country is as bad, as dangerous as Baghdad. Now, you don't hear this stuff. And you're not going to hear it from the American media maggots because primarily the American media maggots don't care what happens in the EU unless it's a positive thing. So a negative thing like this, oh, the EU is wonderful. They're multicultural. You're not going to hear about any of that. Explosions in Stockholm have become so frequent, the city's estate agents are listing no bombings in their pro columns when advertising properties for neighborhoods buyers might not be familiar with. Hey, June, Sven, I can't do good Swedish. I really can't, unless I'm a Muppet. Look, on the plus side here in the column is they have no bombings near or around this house. And the other thing you're not really going to hear is when stuff happens like this. Now, New Zealand is just about as bad as Australia in terms of being leftist. I can't think of the former New Zealand premier or president who was there during COVID, but she was an absolute dictator with regard to COVID. And the deaths, like Australia, the deaths were almost negligible in New Zealand, and yet they clamped down, put the hobnail boots on everybody. But this is why this is an absolutely delicious story. Okay, so Brian Tamaki's Destiny Church protest at a Pride festival, and Chloe Swarbrick calls for country support. So let me put this in focus for you. So they had a Pride festival in New Zealand, and there's a group called Destiny Church and Man Up and Legacy Statehood, which are purporting, they say in the article, purporting to help combat family violence, to storm, all about words, storming a community center. Well, what they don't tell you is, and I don't have an article here. There you go. Or I don't have a photo. But these are, now, who do you go with in this in terms of New Zealand? The folks that came out with this are the indigenous people, the Maori, who have hakas. If you ever seen the line of the Maori, and I can't do this nearly as well, but the facial things are like blah. They're the indigenous people. They don't care for this kind. Did you see it was a visual? They don't care for this kind of stuff. So if you're New Zealand, who do you go with? Because there are always a hierarchy in leftist enclaves. So who do you hold dear first? The indigenous people who are not really cool with this, or are you going to go with the LGBT, etc. folks there? It's a terrible conundrum, and I'd really hate to have to be somebody, and because you're going to have to prioritize if you haven't already. You're going to have to prioritize one or the other. Now, I told you in terms of USAID, I did an entire show on USAID probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that's all it was. I started on my X Twitter feed, and I just went down, boom, bada boom, bada boom. I had an intro to the thing. You know, we've all seen it. We've all been there. But in the process of going through the internet, I recently came across a video, and I'm going to have to actually hype my show right now. I seldom do this, but all of my show notes, which means the links to which I refer, are in the end when I post the show on Rumble, the SHR Media Group channel on Rumble, which is where this is live streaming right now. Or I post it to bloviatingzeppelin.net. bloviatingzeppelin.net. So you can find either all the show notes and the links at Rumble or in my blog, bloviatingzeppelin.net. And the video, which is 2 hours of this guy, Mike Benz, and Tucker Carlson chatting back and forth about USAID. And it was a revelation. And I sucked up all this content until I finally realized, am I understanding? Now, Mike Benz is a smart, sharp dude. Very intelligent. And I'm always going to be referring to him because he has access to information that very few people do. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was in intelligence, and I believe he was also in the government. I'm not sure at what GS level, but a smart, smart guy. Oh, wait, Cheetah, this is terrible. You've been contacted about suing BZ and SHR and inflicting emotional distress about a class of chinchillas. Cheetah, see me at the end of the show, please. So I listened to the whole thing, and I'm going to distill it down for you. But if you want to see, in case you say, oh, BZ, you're full of crap. No, this is how I'm interpreting this stuff. So what if I told you a tale that was so bizarre, so twisted, so labyrinthine, so convoluted, so absolutely maze-like, so layered, so Machiavellian, winding, sinuous, rambling, devious, sly, absolutely unscrupulous, remorseless, unethical, scheming, immoral, unconscionable. I ran out of adjectives, and so abysmally lost. These people are lost. That even the perpetrators fail to understand or even remember all the tentacles that are involved in this thing, all the vast permutations, and how it's all supposed to fit together with the rest of the cogs. So what if I told you a tale about USAID, which is even more than what I told you last time, whose goal isn't aid at all, though by giving it an historical brief benefit of the doubt, let's suggest that maybe it was in the beginning originally. So when begun by then President JFK in 1961 by executive order, it was known as the Foreign Assistance Act in that 1961. It was changed to, and people used to quote it by this name, not USAID. We'll get to that part. But they used to refer to it as USAID. That was a convenient but purposely intentional misleading naming, a little twist of nomenclature. Back then, like I say, it was USAID because USAID actually stands for the United States Agency for International Development. Except, like it's all about the language. We need to get better at the language. Leftists, Democrats, and globalists have snagged the language. We have to wrest it back. Like gender in affirming care has little to do with actual care, but instead with the chemical, mental, and physical butchery of children. USAID has little to do with actually aid. So unless you're talking about aid to the CIA, so that the CIA can effect regime change and mostly chaos in countries around the world, including ours also. Don't think it's not about regime change in just other countries. It's about making sure now that we're screwing over good American taxpayers. not necessarily and primarily not to the benefit of the United States, mostly deleterious to other nations, and certainly deleterious to us because we're footing the damn bill. And like I said, I told you how absolutely nefarious and scheming the entire USAID story is quite a number of times. But I started to go back into this and did some more investigation, found this video fairly easy to accomplish on the internet if you're diligent. I mean, for God's sake, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I came to an important conclusion late last week. Too many people are thinking one-dimensionally, like I did. So you need to back up and see the big umbrella global picture. In order to understand leftists, you have to see how they function. Like I've said for a long time, I speak leftist because I've been around them for so long, so I'll translate. Until I went deeper, I read a whole lot more information. I watched just a ton of videos. I finally realized, holy shit, this isn't just huge. It's absolutely global. So I posit that literally there probably isn't anybody on the planet who isn't affected by this in one way or another. Stop. Just USAID. So Republicans and conservatives are thinking and addressing the obvious. Oh my God, the multiple billions, likely trillions of hard-earned American taxpayer dollars spent and wasted on such off-the-wall and ridiculous events and items and programs that absolutely beggar description via USAID. You've already heard about a ton of those things. And people are rightly thinking, oh my God, what happens when we audit the Pentagon? What happens when we audit every cabinet position? What happens when we audit Social Security, entitlements, each and every federal department and agency? So stop. Here's what I discovered. There are 438 of them. Okay, are you aware of that? And they're unceasing. It's like when they're open, they don't stop. They never go away. They're called everything from departments to commissions, boards, agencies, administrations, authorities, sub-agencies, bureaus, and government corporations. What? What's a government corporation? Did you even know we have those? What is it? They are, by definition, an agency formed by the federal government to administer a quasi-business enterprise. One example is the Postal Service. Winning. Another one is Amtrak. Not winning. In the country where I used to work, the county where I used to work, those are specifically called enterprises, where portions of at least the county, Sacramento County, are there to make some cash. So the U.S. Post Office is there to do that, loses, and Amtrak is there to do that, not doing a real good job of those. So what happens when we dig into those? What else are we going to find? And how much is missing? Do we even know what's missing? Do we know it's missing? Anything is missing? How do we ever know? How would we find out? It's like I've said before, you go in and you tell Zuckerberg at Meta, okay, stop doing this and this and this and this. And Zuckerberg says and swears and absolutely says, yeah, I've done that. Okay, prove it. Will you ever get into Zucky's servers? And the answer is no, you never will. So what happens when we find out and we start digging into all that stuff? How would we know? Zucky's not going to tell you. And all the other people, even though some of the computer systems are still running on COBOL. COBOL was designed by Admiral Grace Hopper in the 1950s. And I've said for a long time, because digital is eventually going to kill us all. I said, if somebody had a time machine, somebody's going to demand that we go back to the 50s and the 60s and kill Admiral Grace Hopper for even inventing COBOL, because that's the precursor to the digital world, the ones and zeros, open and shut. Where are the people that are even going to ask these questions, that are even going to pose these questions, much less the answers. Because these days, to even ask a question has turned out to be nothing more or less than career suicide, no matter where you are, at work, in government, and certainly via the American media maggots in the US and all around the world. Were you aware that, for example, USAID funds 90% of the media in Ukraine? How many U.S. media maggots organizations are funded by USAID? And what about that we've discovered so far? What about the unions, social media censorship, pandemic research, gain of function research, U.S. aid to terrorism, to the drug trade, to human trafficking, a horde of private and independent organizations, which it turns out aren't, secretly organized riots around the world, USAID secretly organized and funded, USAID, riots around the world. USAID was involved in Russiagate. USAID was involved in the global narcotics empire, may still be in the BLM riots, and of course, all the George Soros prosecutors who don't. And the rest that we don't even know about, that has not even been uncovered. Oh, there is so more. It's so thick and it's so deep. But the dealio is, if nobody ever questioned anything and just said, oh, it's okay, I accept it. Everybody assumed that, oh, that guy over there, that person over there, that gal, they're going to take care of it, which they never did. So if you were a politician, what you ended up doing was flapping your lips. And then you moved on to something much more important, like removing people's rights and liberties and making better insider stock trades and setting up PACs and burying accounts for your next congressional or senatorial run. Because if you're a politician in the United States, that's what you do. Because a $44 billion a year USAID budget was pocket change compared to the rest of the waste, fraud, and corruption that we haven't even come close to identifying or exposing or even understanding. So I watched the video. It was with Mike Benz, B-E-N-Z. I follow him. Great guy, smart as a whip. And he's talking to Tucker Carlson. And this kind of got my brain rolling. And what initially occurred with him is he discovered linkage between domestic censorship, then EU censorship, then global censorship, then energy, then the military, then chambers of commerce. It went down to chambers of commerce, then humanitarian aid organizations, then a ton of NGOs, State Department grantees, National Science Foundation grantees, and that led him from one agency to another, and it snowballed fast, going down a hill. But he finally discovered, it's so large, it's so big, it's so rampant, so packed full of bedlam and excess that people are still in the mindset today of, oh no, BZ, that can't be true mindset kind of thing. But here's where Mike Benz, I'm listening to this video, and he's setting it up, and he's making these assertions, which he has proven to be true. Because if you go back to some of my other shows, or if you go back to, say, Rick Robinson, or Earl Jackson, or Jersey Joe, or Edge of Liberty, Sean Lewis, and we've all been talking about this stuff. Well, Mike Benz, we know some of what's been going on. So Mike Benz makes this weird assertion. He wants an American empire. Okay, well, or maybe a lot of other people do, because he's asserting that it benefits America and it benefits the rest of the world. If it benefits America, it benefits the rest of the world. And you can make up your own mind about whether we are an American empire, yes or no. But he admits at this point, the patient, us, the United States, needs open heart surgery. Then he says, don't kill the patient, though. That is to say, the United States of America. So about right now, you're probably saying, BZ, oh, come on. What are you trying to say? What are you implying? What do you think Mike Benz is saying? What I'm suggesting is something that we have yet to really expand our brains around. The intimation is on the table that, well, maybe we're not looking at this like Spock playing 3D chess. Maybe it is for our benefit. And we're limiting ourselves by thinking, oh, it's only budgetary. It's a fiscal error. It's a fiscal issue. Think global. Look up. Think about the bigger umbrella of it all. Maybe we really, this is his suggestion, maybe we really should be continuing USAID. Because what if it's really beneficial for the United States of America? Okay, about this time, I know. Blown brain, right? What idiot would ever make those kinds of allegations? What series of idiots would ever say that, something like that? What series of idiots who are dealing with influence and funding and briefcases full of cash, duffel bags full of cash, even Obama-sized pallets of cash flown to Iran in the dead of night on a C-17 bound for Tehran? Because that's never happened before. As Mike Benz said, in the zeal to carry out radical reforms, if you take out the wrong organs or you don't know how they work, the patient can die on the table, US being the patient. Okay, and this is where I literally am going. I'm trying to process that. How do you get somebody who thinks like that? The assertion is, get ready. You're sitting down, I hope. Maybe this isn't so bad. If the ends somehow manage to justify the means, or kind of to twist it around even a little bit more, because I like to make silly ass BZ comparisons. Make it a little bit more literal. Maybe a drag queen theater presentation with a fuck ton of DEI lectures, cornholing comic books, wrapped around some ignored human trafficking, is what it takes to get the new cadre of new influencers, young influencers in a given country, to give up communism or give up socialism or whoever the hell the dictator du jour happens to be in any given country. And maybe, this is all the benefit is benefiting the average American taxpayer. It's for the children. Okay, just about this time, like I said, brain blown. I had to take a breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. I had to do it a couple of times. Repeat. I'm not kidding. I actually had to do that when I was watching this video. Like, what are you? What? Who? What? Some people are attempting to make this argument. So apparently I discovered he's not the only one that's attempting to, in my brain, I don't know how to interpret it otherwise. He's trying to justify this. The future of the United States is at stake. So in, I guess, a simile, here at home and abroad, the shit is only just, the USAID shit is only just beginning to hit the fan blades. Just not the main body of shit, and it's far from all the fan blades, okay? Today is February 20th. Just 30 days into Trump 47's presidency, his term. It isn't just the tip of the iceberg. In truth, it's like the single blade of grass that floated on to the top of the tip of the iceberg. That's what we know right now. So, even so, having said that, the revelation is so large, so gross, so unfathomable, certainly at first, and so naked and so bold that many are shocked shocked, I tell you, that somebody somewhere may actually potentially be held to answer. Mike Benz is making this claim. Somebody might be held to answer in some form for what's been building for 50 years, 100 years, or more, definitely since JFK in 1961. Okay, so the cat is out of the bag, but not the whole cat, maybe the tip of the tail. And can you really say, just seeing that little part, that it's a cat or a tail or a paw at this point? No, you can't. Nobody saw this coming. Not our 17 intelligence areas and our agencies, because I can guarantee you they don't talk to each other. I used to work for the feds. They don't talk to each other. Now, when we used to send, back in the old days, in Airtel, we had a place that was locked in a cage like a safe where you'd go in, and this was all equipment that was provided to us by the NSA. So it was all encrypted. Our 17 intelligence agencies didn't see it. The Five Eyes didn't see it. Nobody who really thought they were an insider with their finger on the pulse of all things intel, they didn't see it. Sketchy, suspicious, in the know. None of those people saw the emergence of Doge and Trump 47 and deep dives. But even then, you have to understand, it's not so simple. It's not this simple. Because when we thought, oh no, this is horrible, such waste, fraud, and corruption and deception, some are trying to say something similar to, yeah, but. So when certain elements on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, are screaming, democracy, democracy, democracy in the nation of Ukraine, is the hidden secret that they're really screaming through the CIA. They're talking about, oh, rare earth metals buried in the Ukraine ground. So what is it? What are people, politicians, so-called leaders, those in the House and the Senate, heads of agencies, all that, what are they really saying? That all of this is worthwhile simply for advancing U.S. strategic interests. And it's in your, meaning yours and my best interest, not to look. You don't realize or recognize, because we're just doing it for all Americans. We're not just doing it for the Americans. We're doing it for the children. And apparently somebody somewhere thinks, oh, well, that justifies it all. Because I'm watching this unfold in front of me. And I expected a lot more pushback from Tucker Carlson. I was a little disappointed. And so then the average American becomes gobsmacked, for the first time pondering, so you're saying it's not aid, but it says USAID in the name. It used to say it on the building. Well, they took that down. And everybody continues to forget that it's actually the United States Agency for International Development. Aid isn't even a component. And that's in a way, that's the brilliance of years of false marketing. It's been so corrupted for purposes of everything but direct aid that just the name itself, that's where you start. That's a big, huge lie just right there. Like the Kittens for Justice Act, which isn't about kittens or about justice, but a way to import more lions and poisonous snakes into U.S. zoos. So you get my drift. USAID must be a charity, right? It's going to starve. This is what Democrats are saying. What's going to starving brown babies, isn't it? How many infants and children are going to have to be killed by the spigot going righty-tighty? Thousands? Hundreds of thousands? Umbridge, Ayanna Pressley? Ask the Democrats, leftists, and the globalists. But even, this is the deal, even they are aware of the full scope of this story. Mostly they don't want to be, because they too profit from USAID and all the corrupt linked alliances. The problem with the bulk of the Mike Benz argument is that assumptions are made regarding the U.S. being unable to do for itself. So I guess we can't do this. We can't do these things. In other words, we need more oil, so we'll have to get involved with all of the insanity of the Muslims in the Middle East. We need more rare earth materials and metals, so we're going to have to bribe another country for theirs, because Lord knows we can't dig in our own soil, but we sure shit don't mind when other countries despoil theirs. That's cool. We need cheaper cotton baby jumpers for the U.S. market, so we'll have to shiv Vietnam for that. And we need more computer chips, so we'll just go to war with China. But hey, here's something of a little bit of a unique thought. What if we tapped more of our own oil? What if we harnessed more of our own natural gas? It's sitting right there. What if we brought back heavy manufacturing? Oh, I have missed a break, but I'm going to continue. I should say, by the way, if you don't know where you are, you're listening to the SHR Media Network, and you're watching the SHR Media Network. So, go to war with China over Taiwan because we need computer chips, and we've already sworn we're going to go to war with China. But hey, here's something of a weird, unique thought. What if we tapped more of our own oil? What if we harnessed more of our natural gas? What if we brought back heavy manufacturing? What if we helped support our own clothing manufacturers, brought back companies from thousands of miles away, mitigating all those shipping and transport costs, started to ramp up our own computer chips? We were huge in that for a time. What if we started making our own medicines? That became no more obvious that we need to do that during Wuhan 19. Made our own medicines, made our own antibiotics, which mostly we don't, our own medical supplies. Wuhan 19, it should have taught us that. What have we learned? What did we learn? Did we learn a bunch? Are we making these things now in the United States? And the answer is no, we're not. What if we were actually sorry? Excuse me. What if we are sorry, but what if we were serious about becoming more independent, more sovereign, less reliant on other countries when we have people here who want to work, people who need jobs, and we were serious about supporting our own industries and our own employees? So, is Mike Benz making a fallacious argument when the U.S. possesses the capability to solve a huge host of its problems that USAID is allegedly trying to address? Or is the truth that leftists, Democrats, and globalists themselves, who shoved us into the jackpot of relying on others because of environmental concerns or climate change, or because they discovered that the grift for all of that was long and deep and wide and really damn lucrative and highly politically beneficial for them? And a huge benefit was more power and control, with the concomitant diminishment of Republican and conservative power, because that's the goal. Less power for that evil United States of America, and more money and influence to great leaders like George Soros and Emmanuel Macron. I'm not even going to say his name. I can't pronounce it, like February. Klaus Schwab, Keir Starmer, who you may not know is the UK Prime Minister, because they come and go like underwear. Olaf Scholz, Germany. Justin Trudeau, all massive leftists. We're crying tears because Trump spoke truth to us. Then I'm watching the video, and you can see it later in the show notes, in the links. He says, Mike Benz, that he feels this strange kind of sympathy for the devil. That, okay, we've done terrible things. We shouldn't do them again. And yeah, okay, they've gone rogue. And there's no oversight. And horrors beyond your wildest imagination. I'm using his words. At the same time, there's still a vestige of a function there at USAID that our foreign policy planners knew was there, Mike Benz says, and the interest is to reconstruct the patient. Okay, let me read that again. To reconstruct the patient. USAID, comma, what the fuck? So like Putin in the USSR, some of these people want to get the USAID band back together, even before all the members are known, and even though the drugs are killing their music. Okay, I find this absolutely abominable. Even back in 2014, the leftist organization Democracy Now! Had an article that talked about the CIA involvement in USAID. They found the USAID involvement to be terrible, that they were fueling anti-Castro protests. Look at this up here. If you listen to NPR or public TV, Democracy Now! Fist in the air, Democracy Now! We have no idea that it's actually a fucking republic. Is USAID the new CIA agency secretly built Cuban Twitter program to fuel anti-Castro protests? So what the hell happened between leftists who were mostly off their rocker, but not completely off their rocker like today? Only one factor, DJT, Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. Or let's be honest, okay. Should I relinquish and consider that, you know what? Maybe this guy Mike Benz is brilliant and I just don't fucking see it. Now, I admit I'm not a foreign policy wonk. But I still find this absolutely abominable. Like, even back in 2014, what happened between now and then? But you always have to ask, cui bono? Who is this serving? Is this actually serving the American public? Is it a good usage of hard-earned American taxpayer dollars, mine, yours, ours? Is the truth that we need a larger vision regarding the role of U.S. foreign policy, or because I'm a contemptible idiot moron, I just don't grok the larger concept that those far better educated than me seem to understand? Or, as I like to relate in terms of something familiar, if you were a leftist, though, shouldn't you be asking? Why wouldn't you ask if the cure is killing your patient? Well, first, frankly, honestly, I don't think any of them give one pustule-ridden, bubbling, fermented shit. It's the philosophy that matters. It's philosophy über alles. But it's even more labyrinthine and tangled than that, because no one knows where the money went. No one can completely account for it. No one individual or group can state with authority that they know where the money earmarked for them went. No one logged a thing. No one documented a thing purposely. No one knows any actual amounts Even the Democrats, leftists, and globalists, they don't know where it went. They may tell you, but it's a massive lie. Even if they wanted to say it, but they don't. And that's immaterial. That's all intentional. All they know is they want more. Always more. The spice must flow. And it's caused everyone to eyeball the shit out of Arrakis. But I can tell you where it went. It went into the hands of foreign politicians, dictators, and away from those in, let's go back to the original kind of purple-skied utopian planet, needy little unwashed ruffians to whom it was 1961 JFK aimed originally. So here's an easy example. I saw this today. I was watching OAN, I think. I'm not sure. And this example ripped from today's screaming headlines as Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man, bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, recently said, a modestly successful comedian, Vladimir Zelensky, talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that couldn't be won. And Zelensky admits that half of the money that was sent to him is missing. Half of the money that was sent to Zelensky is missing. Yeah, no big deal. Come on. Democrats, move on. Nothing to see here. $175 billion. That's it. Plus or minus a few billion. White trifle. Nobody's going to remember this except me. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there was a Illinois Democrat by the name of Everett Dirksen. He was a senator, and a quote is attributed to him. And he said, you know what? $1 billion here, $1 billion there, and pretty soon you're talking real money. So why would this be? How could it be? Why didn't anyone care? Certainly not in the Biden regime, whose job it was to care, to safeguard our money. It was his job to be responsible, to be accountable. He said he was transparent. All of that. To the American taxpayer, he was none of it. So, how could people do this? That's the easiest reply. I don't know all the details, but I can tell you this. It's because it's not their money. How could Zelensky lose roughly $175 billion plus or minus? Easy. It's not his money. How could the Pentagon literally not account for 63% of nearly $4 trillion in assets? Easy. It's not their money. So because there is little, if any, accountability, people and entities are not held responsible. And here's the focus. Nothing is expected, nor has it ever been expected from any of the recipients. Ever. United States largesse has historically been unidirectional. From us to them, and there's a shit ton of thems. The tables finally have turned, though, because we know there's a new sheriff in town. And there's a new word in town that I love. And that word is called transactional. And gone, and rightly so, are the days where the U.S. gives and receives absolutely nothing in return. Because, like all the little pussies in Europe whine, well, that's the way you've always done it in the past. We don't understand why you're doing it now. Transactional. How did the United States become essentially the world's bitch? Because we didn't stand up for ourselves. That's why. So countries and groups and entities all said, they looked at each other and said, look, there's a vein. Let's tap it. They don't care. Why should we? which is an excellent point. But think, had Joe Biden won, we wouldn't know any of this. Had Kamala Harris won, we wouldn't know any of this. And as Barack Hussein Obama said, quite properly, elections have consequences. Oh, do they? So, just like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, we're discovering in reality it wasn't toothpaste, it was opossum shit. But think, back to the money. Because when people say it isn't about the money, it's not about the money. It's about the money, 110%. Mike Benz says, and again, I don't have to make this stuff up. I'm not making this stuff up for the show. I'm not that smart. I'm not that glib. I'm not that competent. Mike Benz says, if you're going to do the dirty deeds and you believe they're necessary for statecraft, there at least has to be an obligation to be honest about them. Relying on the humanitarian predicate allows voters to be deceived and for them to feel totally hoodwinked when they find out, oh, well, you know, you're paying for the unions and the media companies. Like I said, there's no discounting that Mike Benz is a really smart guy. I think it's at Mike, the underline underscore thing, Benz, B-E-N-Z. I've reposted any number of things from him, mostly through all the USAID shows that I did. I'll do it again. I probably got some lined up in here that I probably won't. Well, you know, I sure as shit won't get to them tonight. But none of this is sustainable in any fashion for any reason ever again. We are tearing our country apart for other countries who primarily couldn't care less. That toothpaste will never see the tube again. It can't. It physically cannot. So none of this is sane. This is sociopathy writ large. The free shit has to end for everyone, everywhere. If for no other reason than we're not even close to the bottom. We can't even see the green glow stick that we dropped down into the chasm. See it. We didn't even hear it hit. The United States has not found out yet. They haven't figured out that when you hit your head with a hammer, it feels better when you stop. Hello, the first rule of holes. That's some scary shit. So we can either provide free fill in the blank to everybody, or we can teach people to get off your ass and fish. Do for yourselves. There's a reason that wildlife folks tell us, hey, don't feed the bears in the woods. It teaches them to be dependent. It makes them fat. They get lazy. Then they get mean when the largesse stops. People are no different. Oh, BC, how mean. You're comparing people to animals. Boo fucking who. Get over it. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and you know what I mean. And in many ways, I kind of like animals better. That's a story for another day. So the bottom line, I try to bottom line things. 19 comments, and I haven't even gotten to them. USAID has got to die. USAID has got to die. It must die. It must die a crashing, bitter, bloody death. Because people will fight to the death for it. The mindset of we're here to save the world has to die. The policy of, did you guys even think about this? What I said Mike Benz was talking about? The policy of, as he indicated, we need to be more transparent when we're nation building or regime changing. That's got to die, because if you're doing that transparently in the open, what's the point? How stupid are you? The logical extension is, how stupid do you think we are? and the philosophy of the U.S. continually giving and everybody else taking, that has to die. Not just moribund, not in a dying state. It's got to die. It's unhinged. It's stupid. Like Margaret Thatcher said, and I repeat again, pretty soon you run out of other people's money. Particularly in light of the fact we don't even know the extent of the damage that's occurring, much less tomorrow, day after, anything like that. A few things we do know, though. The USAID issue is going to get a lot worse. We're going to find waste, fraud, and corruption in every governmental department and agency, all 450 plus of them, every fucking one. We haven't even really begun to touch those. This hit is going to be in the trillions of dollars. What's our debt right now, BZ? Oh, that's right. $37 trillion. That's for every man, woman, and child in the United States right now. I think that averages out to be about $350,000. Speechless. The hit is going to be in trillions of dollars, not billions. Billions is chump change right now. And I emphasize, we can and we should not continue to be the world's bitch. And the American taxpayer can no longer afford to fund the entire planet. And now you know why those people and groups screaming the loudest are in fact the largest pigs and benefactors from entire countries, blocks of nations like the EU, down to the federal government, local governments, and probably lots of your friends and acquaintances. So this absolutely has to stop. It can't just be, I don't know, rerouted or reworked. It has to stop.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. because life's too short for stiff, boring teas. Carrygirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm back. I'm BZ. It is, well, it's 9:31 Pacific, which means it's 11:31 Central and 12:31 Eastern. And Bolivian time is really screwed up, so I'm not going to even go there. I'm looking at this thing over here, 31 comments, and I apologize for not even getting to them. Subscribe if you would to the channel. I kind of went off a little bit, but I get to do that every now and then because it's my show after all. The Taliban is being funded by the CIA. Now that you know about USAID, I wonder, BZ, who's funding that CIA? This is Sarah Adams, and she happens to be on the Sean Ryan show. You may or may not have heard this, but see, I got to make the linkage. I must do it. Or I must go back and make sure that the volume is on. Sean, would you please repeat what you said?
Scares the shit out of me.
We fund the Taliban's political office in Qatar. That's not the 87 million. There's at least 10 million that we just pay their operating expenses a month. Completely separate. Yeah, we've been doing that since 2013. So this is not a new thing we've been funding the Taliban, right? We were funding them while they're killing our soldiers.
I just don't. Where's it hung up in the
How do you do that?
Have you heard any?
Well, I think
who's holding it up?
Well, I don't know if someone's holding it up. Basically, a senator, or hopefully a grouping of them, are supposed to pick it up, and then they shepherd it through the process, like they sponsor it. I don't think we've seen anyone pick it up to sponsor it. This money goes to Afghans returning from Pakistan to be resettled in Nangarhar. What he really does with the $5 million is he gives it to basically another one of his family members, Abdulaziz Haqqani, and he brings it and drops it off at Al-Qaeda training camps. And that's our humanitarian dollars. And so they're basically lying and saying it's going to refugees. And I guess it is. It's going to foreign fighters from foreign countries. There's Libyans in these camps. But it just goes and gets delivered directly to terrorist camps.
Humanitarian aid. Like I said, forewarned is forearmed. I mean, listen. Knowing that that's what we have to fight ourselves. We're fighting ourselves. Our soldiers are getting killed with our money. Folks, it's out in the open. It's out in the open. How can you not demand some kind of change? I shouldn't say this. There's an asteroid coming. And people are saying I think by in the next 10 years sometime, it has a 1 in 48 chance of striking the planet. And I'm thinking, is it time to start over? I couldn't listen to that. And not think, what are we doing? We're fighting ourselves. That really made me choke up. You want to talk about war profiteers? Here's Matt Gaetz.
I think that the reason we are as involved in Ukraine as we are is because Afghanistan wound down. And if we still had Afghanistan to launder money through, there probably wouldn't be the need for this type of excessive involvement in Ukraine. But I think we can look at Afghanistan and we can look at what's going on here and say what a lot of these defense contractors are pushing toward is how to have an extended kind of low yield war. Like if there's a way to stretch this thing out, turn it into a 20, 30 year kind of thing where there's a whole lot of money moving around and unaccountable pots and a lot of weapons getting bought. And then, oh man, the stockpiles, well, we got to spend more money to reload those.
So it's not all bad. It's not all terrible. You know, you'd think after a while that I would be used to this. I would understand this. I didn't even get to the password tonight. Holy crap. I didn't know this until somebody told me. But there are some good things that occurred today. This. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. This I found amusing. God, there's so much material. It's like every day. Where do you start? 11 obscure things that outnumber CNN's primetime viewership. Competitive Rubik Cube solvers registered with the World Cube Association. Now, this is 11 obscure things that outnumber CNN's primetime viewership. Professional psychics working in America. People with heterochromia in the United States. Participants in a 1988 conga line in Miami. Once critically endangered wild bighorn sheep living in North America. Attendees of a women's volleyball match in Nebraska last year. Registered bicycle rickshaws in New Delhi. Tennis balls thrown out per day in the U.S. Annual breast reduction patients in America. Female professional forklift operators and subscribers to a YouTube channel called Justin Y, which has never uploaded a single video. I needed to laugh because if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. Speaking of crying, wake up, America. Wake up. Let me make sure that I've got the sound on for this. Senator Jeff Merkley. He flies a lot. He has some advice.
And I'm here at Reagan National Airport, and I just went through the security checkpoint, and they have a new system to try to make sure that you do not use your driver's license or document instead of using facial recognition. They tell you to put your driver's license into the scanning machine, and then after you put it in and they tell you to step in front of it to get a photo, they proceed to say, well, you can't do that. You have to have your photo taken. And when you say, well, I'm just using my driver's license, and they say, no, you start the process by putting your driver's license in the machine. And at that point, you have to use facial recognition. And I said, well, I'm opting out of that. And they said, well, too bad. You have no choice. Well, this no choice strategy is exactly what we've been saying that TSA is after, trying to eliminate the ability to use just a driver's license. The manager called over the manager. The manager proceeded to say, well, I know this doesn't make sense, but we have a new policy here. And once you put your driver's license in the scanning machine, you have to go through facial recognition. Even if you step out and step back, sorry, you have to use facial recognition. And so I said, no, that's not the law. You don't have to use facial recognition, and you're misleading people if you tell them to put your driver's license in the machine, and then you tell them because you've done that, you can no longer use your driver's license instead of facial recognition. It's insane. This is big government coming to take away your privacy, trying to set up a national surveillance system using your faces, using the airports as the key mechanism. I will continue to fight this every step of the way.
You can't get everyone you need through all these hyper monitored leftist urban rat cages like New York and Chicago and DC, etc. The way to capture more individuals is to make sure that when you fly, because sometimes people have no option in terms of flying, we'll get you there. We'll find out what's going on. Oh, I still have some time. I still have 20 minutes left. So you've heard this before. You're going to hear it again.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Here's a happy story. We talked about USAID, right? Doge finds and discovers. This is courtesy of the Washington Free Beacon. Doge finds $2 billion in taxpayer funds earmarked for Stacey Abrams linked group. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering, and I am too, when are we, the American taxpayer, going to say something similar to, you know what, this is enough. This is enough. I'm not going to attempt to foment violence or any of that kind of stuff. I don't need anybody visiting here. I already have my own personal FBI agent. I don't need a set of them, like 10 or 12, because the RA is just around the corner. But when are people going to say, you know, we had actual bad stuff, I'm not going to say the W word, over things like this for less. We've gone against countries for less. Doge discovered $2 billion in taxpayer funds. Our money, ours, set aside for a fledgling nonprofit linked to perennial Georgia Democrat candidate Stacey Abrams, who is an election denier. And I'd like to add, a rampant black female racist, so I added it. And you want to find out how things make sense? This was very well done, but replace democracy, the word democracy, with bureaucracy, and see how this all pans out.
If the Democrats fail, it might be the end of American bureaucracy.
Our bureaucracy really is in fundamental peril.
The foundations of American bureaucracy under attack. They want to destroy our bureaucracy.
We are a bureaucracy in danger.
We're watching an election where people are on the ballot openly advocating the end of bureaucracy.
That's what Republicans are doing, attacking bureaucracy, attempting to destroy bureaucracy, and they're doing it with glee.
This is the end
of
bureaucracy in America.
When will America stop sleepwalking towards the end of bureaucracy?
Right. It's Democrats versus, as Bill Kristol says, the end of bureaucracy.
We are
Bill Kristol, who never met a leftist or a Democrat he didn't love.
Essentially, as Neil put it, one vote away from sort of the end of bureaucracy as we know it.
I think our bureaucracy and the stability of that bureaucracy is really the thing on the ballot and really so important.
And they're right. They're correct. As far as they're concerned, bureaucracy over everything, process, etc. Like I said, we did have a win today, and you have to realize. I'm sure most of the people do. I'm speaking to. Well, I am. I hope I'm speaking to logical human beings, but you have to ask and posit. Posit, P-O-S-I-T, not pause it like your VCR. VCR, what the hell is that, BZ? Beta, VHS, dating. You have to ask yourself, why was it that Kash Patel was the only guy left, the only big name, so to speak, left yet to be confirmed? And that Republicans actually had to go and crash bowling pins and whatnot down the alley to be able to do it. And can you feature this? I'm sure you can. Shit. The other good thing that happened today, because I was just thinking about, Rick Robinson. I was on the Rick Robinson. Well, I wasn't, but I was in the chat of Rick Robinson's show. And I said, hey, happy stuff. And, hey, did you see Mitch McConnell? He kind of wept a little bit. There was a little weepy McConnell tear. He's not coming back next year. Great. But just when I said that his only job from now until when he ends is just to shit in the DJT Trump, the Trump bowl, punch bowl. Were you shocked when today, when Kash Patel passed confirmation. He was confirmed. Mitch McConnell voted yes. Do you know who didn't vote yes? Who voted no? On the Republican side, Lisa Murkowski, Alaska. Susan Collins, Maine. Maine, you're hopeless. You know, you're going to keep voting for her in perpetuity. I get that. Alaska, what the fuck happened to you? You guys are nuts. But why Kash Patel? Why so much pushback on this guy?
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is that. I mean, there's
that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting of the Catholic school.
Yeah.
We still haven't seen that, right? It's not the Nashville police or PD saying we don't want this out. The FBI airmailed into that operation and said this is not getting out. Because they do that because this is another government gangster operation. All these local law enforcement communities get funding from the DOJ and FBI for local programs. And if you don't...
Stop. Did you hear the link? Money.
Operate, you're not getting your $1 million for this, and you're not getting and that's a lot of money to these local districts.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's how they play the game. That's why you don't have a black book.
but the Black Book, it's not just sitting. I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
And to me, that's a thing I think
add Hoover plus the benefit of technology.
President Trump should run on. On day one, roll out the Black Book. And not just that. On day one, roll out all of the text messaging communications we were told were deleted. On day one, play the rest of the video of the pipe bomber. On day, one of the reforms I talk about.
Okay, you guys do know the NSA has been in all of our telecoms for decades. There is, when the Secret Service said, oh, the texts were deleted, we don't know. The NSA has everything. The only justification for their new building in Utah was to create an even larger server farm to keep all their take.
Government gangsters is you need a central node to be continuously declassifying. This is another thing they do. They overclassify. And I'm telling you, as the former number 2 in the IC, they overclassify 50% of the stuff there to protect the deep state. Oh, no, you can't see that. Nothing to see here. Gina was a master at it, of doing it. And we still haven't seen half of the Russiagate report that we wrote. Still under lock and key. On how the ICA was originally constructed. We put 10,000 man hours against John Brennan's team that did it. And we found out why they came up with their bogus conclusions.
Oh, you mean John Brennan, the guy that lied to Congress? Nah, no problem.
But we couldn't sell it to the world because we couldn't talk about it. And the government gangsters came in and buried it. All of these things, there needs to be a continuing central power, whether it's the White House or offsite, that says every request that comes in, just right out the door, as long as it's not a major threat to national security.
So whose ox got gored? Tulsi Gabbard's ox got gored. She might be taking a little bit of upsettedness to the DNI position. Kash Patel, both Kash and Tulsi, got screwed, SCRUDE, over by government, and now they be large and in charge. And sphincters are clenching all over DC. And I'm sure you've seen, God, if I'd been thinking about this, I would have put the graphic up. Did you see all the houses for sale in the DC area? Upper 6-figure homes, $1 million homes, $2 million homes. And what do you think that the biggest Google search is right now? Countries with no extradition treaty with the United States of America. Guaranteed. Because you got to know that stuff. The rats are going to be deserting the ship. Now, what did I say this was? Let's continue.
It's time for
More
happy stories and good times.
And this is why I call it the deep state. Just know this. Democrats far outnumber conservatives in government. And here's what department is the worst. And here we go. Let's see. I didn't have that. But here's the graphic. Democrats dominate. I went to the happy story thing a little bit too early. It will get happier. Trust me, it'll get happier. But you need to know this. Democrats dominate every department. Number one, housing and urban development. Democrat proportion, 72%. State, 74%. Health and Human Services, 63%. Justice, 63%. Education, 68%. Do you see who has to be eliminated here? Do you see why I put this up here? That's where you go first. Education, 68%. Labor, 60%. Transportation, 60%. Commerce, 57%. Treasury, 58%. Interior, 53%. Agriculture, 52%. Homeland Security, 46%. Veterans Affairs, 39%. Yeah, because not that many veterans are conservatives. Less than 50%, thank God. Energy, 42%. So who's the biggest dog in the household? The Department of State. That's why I showed this to you. So who's going to have the greatest amount of pushback? It's going to be Marco Rubio at the Department of State. Here's another thing that I find, okay, this is what the happy story applies to. Because we had to do this periodically. But now, why didn't they do this under the Biden administration when SCOTUS was leaked? When all of those pieces of information were going out? When Comey leaked? Kristi Noem reportedly warned DHS employees she's going to start polygraphing them over leaking to the media, and then those cases are going to get referred over to Pam Bondi in the AG's office. Now, if that's not a damned happy story, I don't know what is. President Trump goes scorched earth, fires all Biden U.S. attorneys. Okay, you may not know this. All the USAs in every district, the standard tradition is under the guise of a new president, each USA submits a letter of resignation. And it's mostly kind of common that, with some exceptions, the new president comes in and says, I don't refuse your letter of resignation. You're a wonderful guy or gal. I love you. I want to keep you. Fires them all. They submitted their resignation. That's tradition. Fine, cool, go with it. And so OMB, he went with it. And here's another one. Media elites, because AP, Associated Press, got kicked out of the briefings because they weren't going to go along. Well, you got to use pronouns like him and ziz and zer and knuckle doofer and fucknut and squirrel up your anus. You have to call me by all of these names, but if we on the AP, we don't feel like calling it the Gulf of America, even though it's in Google, etc. Well, so media elites call for the boycott of Donald Trump in support of AP speech codes, to which I say, by the way, you have noticed that none of them abided by this. Jim Costa was full. He was pumped up. I want to see everybody in support of me, unify around me. No, that didn't happen. To which I say, I wish this would have. There might have been 3 outlets sitting in press briefing rooms. Might have been Fox News. Certainly would have been Peter Doocy. Maybe OAN, maybe Newsmax, maybe News Nation. Don't know of anybody else. Maybe Breitbart and some folks like that. Great. I wish that would have happened. That would have been glorious. Here's another. Really didn't see this coming. Judge Chutkan, who was all over Trump, rejects the call from Democratic AGs, attorney generals, for temporary restraining order blocking Doge's access to federal data. I speak judge. What that basically means is Doge access to federal data is not blocked. That's what a great story. Circuit Court puts final nail in coffin of Biden's $500 billion student loan forgiveness plan. This is basically it for the student loan plan. You know, students, you assembled it. You wanted it. You went after it. You wanted the loan. You signed on the line. That ain't my loan. That is your loan. Own up to it. Because, let's see, what did Lieutenant General Russell Honore say after Katrina? He said something similar to, oh, you can't fix stupid. There's no fixing stupid. Hey, look, Biden loves it. Obama loves it. Why shouldn't we want to pare back government?
Budget reform is not an option. It's a necessity.
Thank you.
The American people are entitled to transparency.
We can't sustain a system that bleeds billions of taxpayer dollars on programs that have outlived their usefulness or exist solely because of the power of politicians, lobbyists, or interest groups.
They're entitled to be able to figure out where their dollars are going, and they're entitled to accountability to make sure that we're using the dollars for what we said it was for.
We are going to go through our federal budget, as I promised during the campaign, page by page, line by line, eliminating those programs we don't need and insisting that those that we do need operate in a sensible, cost-effective way.
Hey, do you guys remember the movie Dave? And I can't remember the name of the actor, but he brought in his own personal auditor. Dave was the fake president who looked just like the real president who had a heart attack. And the fake president took advantage of the situation and said, you know, why don't I go through the budget line by line by line? And here's Ernie. Here's my auditor. Here's my tax accountant. Ernie, go through this and see if you can find some cool stuff to eliminate.
Should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody.
Really? We hope to be instilling an entire new culture that not only our administration, but every succeeding administration will in fact pursue.
No amount of waste is acceptable, not when it's your money.
No amount of waste is acceptable, even when it's your money, except when we get paid and we are on the pad and when we are on the take, when we are the benefactors of all this wonderful extra cash paid for by American taxpayers. Do not look. This is not the audit you're looking for. Move on.
We all know the government can be inefficient. We all know that the bureaucracy can be bloated. We all worked in the fucking White House. We tried to reorganize the government. We tried to find efficiency. It's hard to do.
And honestly, some of this is pretty annoying because it's some of the stuff we should have done.
Thank you. Everyone should have done all of this. But again, Donald John Trump. Why did it take Donald John Trump to say, hey, what have you got to lose? My tent is big and wide and it's open. I don't care who you are. I don't care your color. Come on in. My tent is open and I want you. And as a result, why was he the first Republican ever to say anything like that? Come on in. The water's fine. You've tried all this other crap. Now try me. Why did it take him to do that? Why did it take him for Doge? People said, oh, you got Elon Musk. You brought him in. And we didn't know this was coming. It was terrible. You slapped us up in the face for something that you didn't run on. Bullshit. He ran and he said that he was grabbing Elon Musk to do exactly what he's doing now. Then he received his mandate in terms of the Electoral College and the popular vote. And then it's all, oh, this is so bad, so bad.
Republicans feel very confident, by and large, fighting on this. I think they believe, rightly so, that government jobs are not lifetime contracts. Everyone in the private sector outside of government understands what layoffs are. They understand what buyouts are. And everyone's been affected by it or knows someone who has. So the idea that this is foreign to people, it might be unfortunate, but it's a fact of life. And I think, if Democrats want to be the party defending, by Republican standards, bureaucrats and foreign aid, we'll have that fight. I'll have it every day.
And the fight is going to be every day. Well, I hate to say it. This is the end of the show. Okay. I got to show you guys this because some illustrations require this. Okay. This is the stuff that I talked about. These little things right here are just tabs inserted in here to keep my mind organized. So those aren't stories that I was going to talk to. Tonight, I only got to here. Right here. See that? I had all this other stuff over here to talk about. And of course, like a good little BZ, like I've told you on numerous occasions, I didn't get to it. I want to do another show.
Mein Flag has been lost.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show this lovely Thursday night, the second month, the 20th day, the year of our Lord 2025. And I want to thank KLRN for simulcasting on this. And I also want to tell everybody that, just like regular, promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, also by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, the Arrakis board, the one that I have right now, Pratt & Whitney engines producing thrust you can trust, and tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my guest tonight, who was me, just me, no one but me, and me, the fat guy, otherwise known as the bulbous one, who has gravitational pull like a planet. So, folks, also, thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than a half hour, about 20 to 30 feet that way, depending on how stumbling bad I am and how things get. Everyone, thanks for being here. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep. Good night, everybody. Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy. Good night, children. Good night, Dad. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night,
Jim
Jim
Bob.
Bob.
Good night and good luck.